When is Selena ever going to get married? If you keep hiding at home, you'll never meet anyone, my sister Molen often declared, always eager to compete with me. Her need to outshine me, whether in academics or extracurriculars, was relentless and often irritating. Even as we grew older, she reveled in the fact that she married before I did. Selena, you need to step up your fashion game if you want to catch a husband, she frequently advised, while I typically brushed off her jabs as typical sibling rivalry. One particular incident soon became impossible to ignore. My name is Selena, and I'm a 31-year-old freelance web designer. After high school, I drifted through years of factory work, lacking direction. The demanding night shifts and scarce days off quickly revealed that it wasn't for me. It was during this time that I stumbled into the world of web design. Eager to seize new opportunities, I quit my factory job and enrolled in a design school. After several years with a web design firm, I made the leap to freelancing, which allowed me the freedom to work wherever and whenever I wanted. Recently, my income has nearly doubled compared to my previous job. A huge part of my success can be attributed to my supportive parents. In gratitude, I decided to buy them a new home. Our family house was aging, so I chose a high-rise condominium. My parents were overwhelmed with joy, moved to tears by the surprise. Now, we live together in the condo, sharing a peaceful and happy life. When Molen and her husband, Mitch, heard about our move, they paid us a visit. I can't believe Selena lives in such a nice place now, especially after working in a factory, Molen said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. I could sense a tinge of envy beneath her words, as they lived in a modest apartment. You're a web designer, right? That must pay pretty well, Mitch added, trying to keep the conversation light. It's been good recently, I replied. Maybe I should give it a shot. If Selena can do it, how hard can it be? Molen remarked dismissively. Her nonchalance about my hard work irked me, but I knew better than to engage in an argument. Why not try it? You have time as a homemaker, right? I suggested. Are you making fun of homemakers? Selena, you wouldn't understand what it's like to be taken care of by mom, she shot back, her words hitting me hard. I kept my composure, reminding myself that it wasn't worth escalating the tension. I help mom too, and I understand the challenges of housework, I said, trying to defend myself, but Molen continued with her sarcastic remarks, her frustration evident. Perhaps it was the alcohol, but her comments grew sharper, prompting our father to step in. Molen, don't you think you're being a bit harsh? Selena has worked hard to achieve her success, he chastised. Daddy, it's okay, I'm fine, I interjected, eager to prevent a family dinner from devolving into a full-blown argument, especially with Mitch present. Darling, Molen, I think it's best to call it a night, Mom suggested diplomatically. Thanks to her intervention, we avoided a fight, though Dad remained visibly upset long after Molen and Mitch left. I can't believe she would say that without understanding what Selena has gone through, he said, frustration etched on his face. Really, it's okay, Dad, I'm not bothered, I reassured him, and he finally seemed to relax. Months later, when Mitch's company unexpectedly went bankrupt, Molen reached out to ask if they could stay with us temporarily, since we had spare rooms, and I figured it would only be until Mitch found another job. I agreed. I'm so sorry, Selena, for just showing up like this, Molen said. No worries at all, Mitch has a degree, so he'll find something soon, just stay as long as you need, I replied, surprised that she turned to me for help after her earlier comments. They assured me it would be a short stay, so I reluctantly went along. As time passed, however, they showed no signs of leaving, gradually making themselves at home. My parents grew increasingly worried about Mitch's job situation. It's been 3 months since they said he'd find something. Why hasn't he gotten a job yet? My mom asked. I nodded, sharing her concern. When I broached the topic with Molen, she brushed it off. Mitch has a degree, unlike Selena, so he'll find work soon enough, she said dismissively, clearly unfazed by our parents' worries. Her snide comments became more frequent. Why don't you focus on yourself instead of Mitch? I retorted. What do you mean by that? She shot back. You're in your early 30s, right? Can you even get married? Unlike me, you're not exactly a beauty. Maybe no one will want to marry you now, she taunted. Her words stung, but I knew that reacting would only give her the satisfaction she craved. I don't need you to worry about me, Molen. Maybe it's you who should be worried. Mitch will be fine, so just relax, I replied. Yeah, whatever. I held back my anger, knowing that arguing would only give her a sense of victory. Recently, even Mitch began to join in on the snide remarks, perhaps out of frustration from his prolonged job search. You only graduated from high school, right, Selena? He quipped, his words cutting deeper than he probably intended. Their insults hurt, but I remained composed, understanding that their frustration stemmed more from their own circumstances than from any real animosity toward me. Yeah, so what? I shot back, striving to keep my composure. It takes courage to be independent with just a high school diploma. Molen's condescending tone pierced through the air. Why? What will you do if you can't earn a living? It seems tough to find a job with just a high school education. Really? Mitch chimed in mockingly. I can see it's just a temporary situation for you, Selena. Well, I have a college degree, so landing a new job should be a breeze for me, Molen added smugly. Despite Mitch's ongoing job search, a surge of anger bubbled up within me at their attempts to belittle my accomplishments based solely on education. While I recognize the value of education, I've come to believe that it isn't the only measure of success. I once worried that being independent without a degree would be a daunting task, but I've learned that determination and hard work often matter more than formal credentials. Still, Mitch's relentless mockery of my high school diploma stung deeply, and their snide remarks seemed unending. To make matters worse, Molen had completely stopped contributing to housework, leaving all responsibilities to Mom and me. Instead, she would either retreat to her room or spend her days shopping. Meanwhile, Mitch appeared to have lost all motivation for his job search, opting instead to lounge around the house, living a carefree life, in front of our parents. He even had the audacity to complain about the food, saying, "Wasn't today's meal a bit bland?" I was determined not to let them continue leeching off us and potentially become a burden in the future. Mom, how long do you plan to stay? If Mitch is struggling to find work, why don't you consider getting a job as well? I confronted them, frustration bubbling to the surface. Molen shrugged, avoiding my gaze. It's fine, he'll find something soon. Her casual dismissal only fueled my anger. It's been almost half a year since you said soon. Mitch, are you making any progress in your job search? I might have an offer from a big company soon. I expect my salary to be higher than Selena's, Mitch asserted confidently. Is that so? I replied, irritation rising at his lackadaisical attitude. More importantly, Selena might struggle to earn a living in the future, right? Molen abruptly shifted the conversation. Hey, don't dodge the question, I pressed. If that happens, we might have to sell this house, right? You shouldn't have bought a place like this. Molen's tone turned accusatory. What are you implying? She challenged, defensiveness creeping into her voice. Why not let us take over the house? Mitch has a college degree, so his income should be stable. If you leave it to us, you won't have to sell it, Molen suggested, a smug smile playing on her lips. I could barely grasp whether they were serious or just being absurd. Wait, do you realize what you're suggesting? Mitch hasn't even landed a job yet, I pointed out. He's bound to find a better one soon. It'll all work out. Plus, this could be a great opportunity for you, Selena. You should embrace living independently, Molen insisted. What? I exclaimed, taken aback by her audacity. You don't need to rely on anyone while living under Mom and Dad's roof. Let them go and stay with us, she continued, brushing aside my protests. Enough, this is my home, and you both know that, I asserted firmly. It was clear they were scheming to push me out and seize control of the condominium. Their constant jabs and refusal to help around the house only confirmed my suspicions. Despite their claims of only staying until they found work, their intentions to take over my home were unforgivable. I had shown leniency due to their circumstances, but I couldn't tolerate their behavior any longer. It was time to evict my sister and her husband. When I confided in my parents, they revealed that they had been discussing the same issue for a while but had refrained from intervening, respecting my right to make the decision. That evening, we gathered Molen and Mitch for a family meeting. What's going on? Why the sudden seriousness? Molen asked, confusion etched on her face. We've decided it's time for both of you to vacate this house, I declared. What, Selena? Why are you throwing this at us out of nowhere? Mitch interjected, incredulous. I've reached my breaking point, and so have Mom and Dad, I replied firmly. What do you mean? This is all so unexpected, Molen exclaimed, clearly taken aback. We understand it's not easy to pack up and leave immediately, so we're giving you 1 month. You have until today to find a new place, I explained. That's still pretty sudden, Molen protested, her voice tinged with panic. Turning to Mitch, I asked, have you managed to secure a job yet? His demeanor shifted, avoiding my gaze as he mumbled, not yet, but it'll come soon, lacking conviction. It's been 6 months already, hasn't it? Despite allowing you both to stay, Molen hasn't lifted a finger to help with the housework, and both of you have been making snide remarks toward me, isn't that right? I pressed. Dad reacted immediately. I hadn't mentioned their snide remarks before, so I could tell my parents were shocked. Have you two been making snide remarks to Selena? Dad's voice was firm, and Mitch appeared visibly uncomfortable, beads of sweat forming on his brow. Daddy, It's not like that. It's not snide remarks. It's just friendly advice. Molen interjected hastily. What kind of advice have you been giving Selena? Dad's tone grew more serious. Anger flickered in his eyes, usually gentle but now intimidating. It's more like, Molen faltered, clearly intimidated by Dad's pressure. Sensing her hesitation, I stepped in to clarify. They suggested that because I only have a high school diploma, my future prospects are uncertain, and that living alone might increase my chances of getting married. Isn't that right? I relayed to Dad what they had said. Dad's anger flared instantly. Enough of this nonsense. Uncertain because of a high school diploma? Better to live alone? Do they even have the right to make such statements? His tone was stern, and Molen fell silent, avoiding eye contact. Let me make this clear, you have a college degree, so why are you struggling to find work? If Mitch is having trouble, why isn't Molen contributing to the household income? After all, she also has a college degree, Dad continued, his words leaving Molen and Mitch speechless. Selena, 1 month is far too lenient. They need to leave immediately. Both of you start packing your things, Dad ordered firmly. What? That's impossible. We have nowhere to go, Molen pleaded, her voice almost breaking. I don't care. When I say leave, I mean it, Dad reiterated, his tone leaving no room for argument. Mommy, please talk to Daddy, Molen begged, turning to Mom for support. I feel the same way as your father, Mom responded, surprising everyone with her agreement. Normally, she would side with them when Dad got angry, but not this time. No way, Dad insisted firmly. 1 month is too generous. Can you leave right now? I chimed in, my voice steady as I stood by Dad's decision. Mitch, supporting a crumbling Molen, nodded in agreement. Reluctantly, they began gathering their belongings, murmuring a final, I'm sorry, before departing. To be frank, Molen and Mitch had been a significant source of stress, hindering my ability to work effectively for the past few months. Thanks to my father's intervention, we were finally able to persuade them to leave, and I felt a wave of relief wash over me. A month later, Molen unexpectedly showed up at our doorstep. What now? I asked, my tone guarded. Actually, Mitch and I got divorced, Molen revealed, her voice heavy with resignation. She explained that after being forced out of my house, they sought refuge at Mitch's parents' home. However, his parents were extremely strict and outraged upon learning about their situation. Despite their displeasure, Molen and Mitch had no choice but to plead for permission to stay, which was reluctantly granted. After that incident, Mitch began diligently searching for jobs every day, while Molen took on more responsibilities around the house. Yet, as weeks passed, Mitch still couldn't secure a position. Despite holding a college degree, he lacked significant qualifications and had no notable achievements from his previous employment, merely following orders without contributing anything substantial. Numerous job opportunities were available, but Mitch's pride prevented him from considering them. He insisted on finding a role similar to or better than his last one. Realizing the futility of this approach, Molen eventually brought up the topic of divorce. I never realized how prideful he was. It's not that he can't find a job, he's just being picky. Isn't that ridiculous? Molen vented, frustration evident in her voice. While Mitch's refusal to compromise was undoubtedly problematic, Molen, who had often demanded a higher income from him than I earned, bore some responsibility as well. One had to wonder how she would have reacted if Mitch had accepted a lower-paying job. So I've decided to move back in with everyone from now on. I appreciate your understanding in advance, Molen announced, as if her decision was a foregone conclusion. That's not going to happen, I replied firmly. What? Molen exclaimed, clearly shocked by my refusal. I've already made it clear that we can't have you living with us anymore, Molen. Mom and Dad agree, I reiterated, my voice steady. But I'm divorced now. It's not the same as before, she protested. That's not the point. Your attitude is the issue here. Don't come back here, and don't reach out to us if you find yourself in trouble, I said sternly. But what am I supposed to do? I'm now employed, Molen pleaded. You have a college degree, don't you? You should be able to earn more than I do with just a high school diploma, so there shouldn't be any problem, I replied coldly. With that, I escorted Molen out of the house. She cried and begged for forgiveness, promising to change and help out more, but I remained resolute. I pushed her out the front door, and eventually, she left, defeated. Later, I learned that Molen had found a job at a supermarket and was living independently. It seemed she had come to terms with the fact that she couldn't surpass me and had opted for a simpler life. Meanwhile, Mitch, still clinging to his pride and unable to find work, was eventually ousted from his parents' home. His whereabouts and current situation remained a mystery. As for me, I recently tied the knot. I met my partner through work, and after several years of dating, we decided to take the plunge. We had been contemplating marriage for a while, and I had already introduced him to my parents. The only person unaware of our union was Molen. Now, I am happily married, living with my husband and parents in our home, enjoying a newfound sense of peace and fulfillment.